I want to use an example, and I've used this time and again to demonstrate policy and strategy, but also organizational efficiencies. Okay. If you think about it, you want an ecosystem like the one on the right-hand side, where it's optimized and it represents efficiency, and you want to look at it from an ecosystem point of view, but also from an organizational point of view. Okay. So you want this ecosystem to make optimal impact, and it is efficient, it's effective, it's delivering. That's the kind of ecosystem that you want. The one on your left is where you might have just thrown pieces together and stuck them up together. But at the end of the day, it's not delivering. It's suboptimal impact. It's inefficient. And there are many institutions that are actually suffering that consequence. We have different business units, departments that are not talking to each other. So the whole business starts to collapse. So you need to optimize how the work flows inside of the organization, how the work flows inside of this ecosystem, and so on. So this is a good example of complexity and how you're transforming inefficiencies on the left-hand side, and you can move your ecosystem to the one on your right-hand side. Okay. And so I want to use a Rubik's Cube to demonstrate this point. The one thing you should notice is that there are 27 pieces in this Rubik's Cube, but there are 4 corners that has 3 colors, okay? And then there are 12 side pieces, okay? That's the first suite of properties. The other thing to notice is that there are certain pieces that are fixed that never move in this cube. For example, the red, no matter how you twist the other pieces, the red will always be opposite the orange, and the green will always be opposite the blue. Same with the white and the yellow. They will never move away from each other. And that gives you a reference frame. If you want to solve it, you have to pay attention to that. But there is complexity to this in terms of how you solve it. The number of ways that I can mix this Rubik's Cube, by the way, is 43 times 10 to the 18. That's the number of initial states I can have in this Rubik's Cube. If you're interested, there's the math equation at the bottom end. And by the way, the number of sand particles on planet Earth is 7 times 10 to the 18. So there's more ways I can mix this Rubik's Cube than the number of sand particles on this Earth. So you can see how complex this Rubik's Cube is. But there's a way of solving complexity, and it goes back even to your ecosystem. Solve it layer by layer, align it, make sure all the institutions are talking to each other. I ensure that there's good governance eventually. Okay, system. And so what we do is, I know the reference points. Okay, so here's a white, for example, and I know there's a sequence. There's always going to be orange, green, red, and blue. Blue is always opposite green. And what I do is I try to create that cross. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is to make sure I have the colors in the right sequence. So if I have green, I have an orange before the green. So fine. We'll do that very quickly. So this is just a little bit of fun. Okay, so if you look here, there's the orange. Okay, there's a white cross, you can see that. There's the orange bit, there's a green bit, there's the red, and there's the blue. The green is opposite the blue, the red is opposite the orange. If I follow that sequence, you'll notice that the orange is aligned to the green. That's not what I want. I want the orange to be aligned to the center orange. All I have to do is rotate this cube. And the orange will align, the blue will align, the red will align, and the green. Okay? I've done the cross, and I've aligned it. Remember I said alignment. It goes back to this here. Build it layer by layer. So I started at the bottom layer, do the alignment, Now I've consolidated where I've locked in the orange to the center orange. I've locked it in. It's not going to move from that point. Okay. So that's the first bit. Now I want to give structure to this ecosystem. I've defined the trenches that I want to dig for this building. Now I need to give structure. Okay. I need to build up the flooring. I need to put the corner pillars together. So let's go to the corners. So again, colleagues, it's about alignment and consolidating, aligning and consolidating. I want to put the right pieces in the right corner. So you'll notice this is red, this is blue. All I do is I take the white piece that's in here and I put that in the top. So if I find that piece, it was there actually, there's a red, there's a blue, there's a red, blue, and white. Okay. If I find that piece, I put it at the top. I'm aligning it to the way it should go at the bottom. All I do is consolidate it. That's locked in. I find the next one where there's blue, orange, and it's actually sitting at the bottom end. I want to take it to the top. Okay. If I take it and leave it at the top, I know it goes to the bottom. It locks in. Okay. I'll do the same for the other. I think there's two more. And let me see. Sorry, I've got one more left. Sorry, I think, no, that's one. So what I've done, please, I've done the white cross. Now I've done the first layer, okay? Remember in the first layer, I've paid attention to the cross, the white cross, which is my law and policy. That's like defining the trenches. Now I'm filling up the trenches and the pillars for this building, which is your strategy and your business model. It's giving structure. When you put your strategy, define your business model, it's now giving structure. It's telling you this is now your landscape. Everything else has to be built on this foundation. You cannot now leave this foundation and go build it somewhere else. You have to use the foundation that you've built. Okay. The next step is actually to build, sorry, I think I might have ran too fast for you. The next step is actually to do this, the next layer. I think I solved the next layer while I was doing the first one. When you want to build a second layer, okay, you have to align this red piece, and you'll see there's a green, but notice there's a green on this side. So this piece has to come on this side, okay? And if I do that properly, sorry, I've just moved this out here. Yeah, if I do that properly, I've now solved the second layer, okay? The second layer is actually my building blocks. Okay, remember the first one is the cross, which is the policy and the law. The outer corners are my strategy and my business model. The next layer is my human capital, industry, infrastructure. That's giving more structure to this ecosystem. It's the middle layer. Okay. Now I want to make sure, remember, ultimately I want to deliver on the products and services. So what I have to do is to build a yellow cross at the top end. I've got two layers sorted out. Okay. That cross is now defining that I'm going to put up there my value chain. Okay. It's going to help to link up to the rest of the ecosystem. And so you can see there's an L shape. So I'm going to start to build the yellow cross. Okay, so I've got a yellow cross there. Now I need to make sure that the side pieces are all linked up. Okay, so now you see, by the way, there's the red is linking up, red. Here I have a problem. That's mismatch, that's mismatch. And that's what happens when you build an ecosystem. So you can get certain parts matching up, and there might be some that are still not matching properly. So you have to pay attention to those that are weak in the system. because your chain is only as strong as your weakest link. Okay, so now I need to make sure that this one that's not matching and this one, we have to pay attention to it and resolve it. There we go. Okay, so remember what happened was I was battling because I had two pieces that was aligned and two pieces that were not aligned. So here's the blue, here's the orange, here's the green, and they're all matching up. So that's telling me that my value chain is now mapping quite nicely and folding over onto the ecosystem. Okay, the only thing that's left for me is the products and services. That's what I need to make sure. So that's your four corners. So I need to make sure. So you'll notice that I need to put the pieces in the right corners. So for example, here's a red, blue. The right piece, it's a blue, red on the top corner. But the other three pieces are in the wrong corners. So this is a blue and an orange. I've got an orange and a green. So I need to sort that out. So let me see if I can do that quickly. And what actually happened is when I did that, one side solved itself. And now I've got to solve just one side that's left. Okay. There we go. So it is solved. Okay. So what I was trying to demonstrate is that the Rubik's Cube is quite complex in terms of the number of states you can start off with. And that ultimately there's a trick to building it. You have to align it and consolidate it, okay? And you start off by, putting the white reference cross down, which is a policy, your law and policy. Then you put up the corners, which gives the structure for the ecosystem. That's your strategy and your business models. You would then solve your first layer. And then the next layer, or the center layer, is your human capital, your industry, your infrastructure, and your international partnerships, okay? And then you put up the yellow cross at the top, which is your value chain, okay? The mission requirements, enabling technologies, the mission operations, and the space applications, okay? That's your cross. The top end, the corners, are actually your products and services that you're delivering. When you do this, you've now defined the whole ecosystem. You brought the whole ecosystem together. It's aligned, it's coordinated, it's effective, and it's efficient. Okay? You have to build it up, starting with policy and law, then doing a strategy and business model, then starting to work inside of the box in terms of human capital, industry, infrastructure, international partnerships, and so on. And you build the inside of the ecosystem. So what I'm trying to demonstrate to you, colleagues, when you're starting off with the space ecosystem, you have to do your space law, and then you do your strategy and your business models. What I have seen in many countries, we just go ahead, train students, and we hope that the ecosystem will be built up. We go build a satellite, we bring them back. You have to start with the policy, the law and the policy, develop your strategy and your business model. Then only can you start to build your ecosystem. If you go try to tamper with building the ecosystem without defining your space law and policy, without defining your strategy and your business model, you're going to have a problem. You're not building a sustainable space ecosystem. And this is one of the reasons why we set up, in exactly realizing this, the African Space Leadership Institute, that the policy and law and the strategy is so fundamental to your space ecosystem that many countries are not paying attention to that don't have the capacity to do that. And this is why we set up the African Space Leadership Institute. Policy, law, strategy. That's what we want to focus on. And that's where we want to deliver and help the African countries and the African continent to build a proper space ecosystem.